Let's welcome in Trump appointee for U.S. Ambassador to Israel and former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. Governor, great to see you this morning. So Marco Rubio in Israel yesterday, meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu. This was the first stop in his visit to the Middle East, his first as Secretary of State. When you do face your confirmation, how do you plan to work with this administration on day one?
Well, I think the good news is everyone in this administration is going to be on the same page. That's the president's page. He's made it very clear that Iran is the threat. It has to be dealt with. They're the ones who are the destabilizer in the Middle East. And they've destabilized the situation, not just for Israel, but for all of their Arab and Palestine, all of their, let's just say, Muslim neighbors. The world is a dangerous place because of the Iranian nuclear threat and because of the fact that they continue to say that their goal is not only to annihilate Israel, but to ultimately annihilate the United States. Now, that may sound like a bold claim, but it's what their claim is. And when someone continues to tell you they're going to kill you, you might ought to take them seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it also seems like, we're not even getting the right coverage coming out of the legacy media. They can't even handle this entire situation correctly. I mean, Secretary Rubio had a really bizarre interview with Margaret Brennan on CBS yesterday, who actually tried to blame the Holocaust on free speech in Nazi Germany. Take a listen.
He was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide.
Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none.
Kudos to Secretary Rubio for speaking the truth out loud, but my goodness, Margaret, what are you thinking?
You know, it's sad. The Tiffany network of Edward R. Murrow and Walter Cronkite has become a joke, and Margaret Brennan is its #1 comedian. This is absurd, and for her to continue to try to use this just anti-Trump dogma in everything she does, it's discerning. It's such a disgusting way for a person to conduct herself and pretend to be a journalist. I was so proud of Secretary Rubio for pushing back and essentially just saying, Margaret, you have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, the idea that somehow free speech was the basis for the Holocaust, my gosh, it was the opposite. They shot people in Germany who spoke out against the Fuhrer. That's not free speech. That's totalitarianism, and that's what led to the Holocaust.
Yeah, Tiffany's got a lot of tarnish on it right now.
Meanwhile, 3 more hostages, as you know, were released from Hamas captivity, including one American. The president, who originally demanded that Hamas release all the hostages Saturday, took to Truth Social, writing, quote, Israel will now have to decide what they will do about the deadline imposed on the release of all hostages. The United States will back the decision they make. Obviously, Governor, the U.S. stands behind Israel. Do you see Netanyahu getting more aggressive with his demands to Hamas?
I think there's no doubt about that. And when Joe Biden was president, there was such a schizophrenic foreign policy as it related to Israel. One day, Biden administration would say, oh, we're with you, 100%, we're the ironclad agreement. The next day, they would be lecturing Israel on how to prosecute the war, putting more pressure on Israel for a nebulous ceasefire than the release of the hostages, including Americans. It was the most bizarre and just really confusing policy that this country could have put forth. Donald Trump comes to office. His policies are quite clear. There's no ambiguity about it. And I think it's given the Israelis a clear understanding that this is a situation they have the green light to do what they need to do to get their hostages out and to end forever, not just temporarily, but forever, the threat of Hamas, who even as recently as a couple of weeks ago have continued to say they want to repeat October the 7th. Well, let's make sure they don't have the capacity.
Yeah, before we let you go, Governor, before the Prime Minister met with President Trump, you organized a meeting of your own with the Prime Minister and 13 other evangelical leaders. Tell me a little bit about what that meeting was like and why you decided to do it.
There's no greater support for Israel than among evangelical Christians, and the reason for that is because we're people of the book. We believe that the Bible is true, always has, always will be. And as a result of that, Israel knows that some of the best friends in the whole world are the Christians of America. So it was important to bring some of those leaders. Wish we could have brought them all, but there would have been hundreds of them. But a small group for an intimate meeting with the Prime Minister, not only to express support, but to answer questions that he had and to ask him some very straightforward questions about hostage negotiation, about the process that they're going through to deal with Iran. It was a very productive meeting, and I think he appreciates continually the extraordinary support that he gets from the evangelical Christians in this country.
Governor, always great chatting with you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.